maximizing your TSP options. Maximizing your TSP options. Everyone loves talking about their TSP. A lot of individuals have fun playing around with that, but let's look at what is given to us on our pay stub every pay period that we can actually use to plan for our future. So if your pay stub looks like this, you know, we're looking in box 21, and my TSP, I'm contributing, according to this pay stub, we're contributing 15% per pay period. So what does that mean? That's 15% of my salary per pay period is being contributed to the TSP. Now, if we look underneath the deduction section, we will see that per pay period, that is equivalent to right at $651.96 per pay period. There's a couple things to note here. This pay stub is only reflecting as if I'm contributing to my traditional TSP. It could be, you may have multiple line items under your deduction section, one for Roth TSP, or if you're over the age of 50, you may have some line items for the catch-up contributions to the traditional TSP or the catch-up contributions to the Roth TSP. So if you're over the age of 50, you are eligible to contribute beyond the limit for the year. And so if you're over the age of 50, you could have 4 line items where you're actually contributing to your TSP. So pretty interesting, good thing to know. There's a lot of individuals, you're just making it from day to day as you're going through life, and you're not able to contribute as much to your TSP. But once you've reached age 50 or older and kids are out of the house and you're not paying for college anymore, you're able to contribute more. So the catch-up contributions allow you to do that. They allow you to contribute more than you were able to previously in your career. So interesting thing there. All right, next, let's look at the bottom of your pay stub, the benefits paid by the government for you. Have you ever even looked at this section? Do you know what the government's paying for you? It's pretty interesting here. Under benefits paid by government for you, you may see 2 line items. And the only reason that you would see 2 line items is if you are FERS. Now, FERS, if you contribute 5%, the government's going to match you 5%. And you can see here that TSP Basic is 1 line item under the benefits paid by the government for you, and TSP Matching is the 2nd line item underneath benefits paid by government for you if you're a FERS individual. So what is this? If you don't contribute to TSP at all, you can receive the TSP Basic as an automatic 1% of your salary, and that's what the TSP Basic is representing. If you contribute more than or anything really, their government's going to match you at different increments. They will match you up to 5%. So TSP matching is, in this case, the remaining 4% to total my 5%. So 1% is on the left side of the screen, 5% is on the right, 4% is on the right-hand side of the screen. But together, this is just showing that the government is paying into your TSP every pay period as long as you pay 5%. That's 100% return on your investment. It's definitely worth doing if you can. So let's look at the current situation on an annual basis, okay? So as you see on my screen here, we looked at earlier, I'm contributing 15% of my salary at roughly $17,000 a year. The government their portion is about $5,600 per year. So I am contributing to my TSP an extra $11,000 a year that the government is not matching. If we looked at that per pay period, we're then contributing $651 per pay period. Government's matching about $217. So we're contributing each pay period $434 beyond the match. So this is money that you're saving and you're not getting a match on, but you need to ask yourself, what's the purpose of this money? And I know you're like, Abby, that's a crazy question. What do you mean, what's the purpose of my money? honestly, you should have a purpose for those funds. Is it for your retirement spending? Are you planning to fund college with that money? Are you wanting to pay your house off quicker in retirement? Typically, the most common answer that we see is to have more money saved for retirement. And if that's the case, then the question becomes, is the TSP the best place for you to save your money? So right now, as a federal employee, you're living in the accumulating phase. You're working, you're accumulating your funds, planning for retirement, getting ready to cross the threshold into the distribution phase of life. And in this distribution phase, that's when you're going to be withdrawing your money. You're going to be spending your money, whether it's to do the things that I just named, to make ends meet, to fund college, to pay off the house, vacation, travel, whatever it is. You'll be doing that just in the distribution phase of life, and depending on the investment choices that you made, it could result in some tax implications. So first, let's walk through the best places for you to have your money when you retire and you enter into that distribution phase. This is what we call a smart money list, and you'll see the first thing on my list here is free money. And you see in parentheses there, OPM. You may know what OPM stands for. If we're talking about free money, we're talking about other people's money, right? But those two words are great together, free money. And what am I talking about when I ask you, or when I am explaining to you to get your free money? Well, it's the match, of course. So first, individuals, if you contribute 5%, like I said earlier, the government's going to match you 5%. And it's 100% return on your investment. It's free money. Don't leave that free money on the table if you can help it. Okay, so get that free money. The second on the list is tax-free money. Free money are probably two of the best words that you can put together. Tax-free money is probably the second best two words that you can put together, because tax-free funds, you can take those distributions and most oftentimes not have to pay tax on it. And the way that comes about happening is tax-free money is money when you pay the tax when you put it into the account. So you pay tax up front when you put your money into that account. That's what you call your basis. And your basis and the growth can potentially be tax-free upon distribution as long as you meet certain qualifications. So when you retire, this is one of the best places to pull from, because it allows your basis and your growth to be distributed tax-free at the distribution point. Now, this may come in the form of Roth. Now, we have Roth IRAs, there's Roth TSPs that you can pull from. Roth TSP is the new guy on the scene right now. He's only been out about 6 years. Up until 2012, the traditional TSP was all that you had. So the Roth TSP is an option. And then there's also a Roth IRA option outside of the federal government that you could choose from as well. Tax-free money can also be found in the cash value of life insurance policies. There are some life insurance policies that allow you to build cash value, and what that is you're putting money into a savings account inside a life insurance policy, allowing it to grow. And whenever you get ready to make those distributions, as long as all the certain qualifications are met, those distributions could be tax-free, so that's pretty great as well. Also, municipal bonds, they are an option as well. You can write Detroit beside muni bonds. There's potential for tax-free money there, but you want to be careful that you do it correctly. And that's not the scope of this discussion today, but talk with your financial advisor or your accountant if you're using muni bonds. The third bucket is going to be the tax-deferred bucket, and I'm willing to bet that 85% of all of the federal employees who are attending today have the majority of their money in a tax-deferred account. Maybe it's in the form of a traditional TSP. The reason I make that high assumption is because, like I said earlier, it was your only option up until 2012. But tax deferred is a tax me later account. So you put the money in, don't pay tax on it, and you allow your money to grow, and then whenever you start taking your distributions in retirement, that's when you're paying taxes. You're deferring taxes. Don't tax me now, tax me later when I take my distributions on down the road. Now, we have found that a lot of federal employees believe that they're going to be in a lower tax bracket in retirement. And I'll tell you, of the thousands of federal employees that we've trained, that's typically not the case for most federal employees. And here's why. If you're CSRS, you just got a really big, robust pension that you got to pay some taxes on. FERS individuals, you've got your federal pension, you've got your Social Security, and then you've also got the potential to draw from the TSP. So, that's the potential for 3 checks, 3 really great checks that you can pull from. And what we find is, let's just say you're at the top of the 22% tax bracket. If this is my tax bracket, you're at the top of the 22% tax bracket while you're working. When you retire, yes, your income is cut, but because you have those 3 sources of income, we find that you might find yourself just right at the very beginning of the 22% tax bracket. That's what we typically see. I have seen individuals who, let's just say this is the 22% tax bracket, and with their 3 sources, or 2 sources, let's say 2 sources of income, their federal pension and their Social Security, they actually fall right into the next tax bracket below. But then they start drawing from their traditional TSP, and guess what happens? It bumps them right back up into the very same tax bracket that they were in while they were working. Again, I'm not saying that that's the case for everyone. It's just something that we most typically see. But tax deferred money is money that you put in, paying tax later. And then the 4th bucket is taxable. Your taxable money, this is, you have an investment and you make some earnings one year, and let's say that it grows to 10%, then you pay tax and you really only made 8%. So be careful as you're, investing in those types of funds. It can be detrimental to long-term planning as well, if it's not managed appropriately. So look and determine where you're saving now, and determine what you can do now for to better your long-term retirement plan. And, I even suggest that you put the smart money list up beside your leave and earnings statement and identify where your money is going at this time as you're saving for retirement. Then I want you to think about the purpose of your TSP, what we talked about a few minutes ago, and do the 2 line up. You may even, after today's training, want to pull out a TSP statement, place it beside those 2 documents, and compare and make sure that you're making the right determinations here again for the withdrawal stage of life, because that's where you are getting ready to head to. And do you know what your 2 biggest enemies are in retirement? Taxes and inflation. So go ahead and plan for those, because for federal employees, we find that is most oftentimes your 2 biggest enemies.